And we're already at exercise 7, and in this exercise we're going to be looking at the clip tab here. I'm just going to bring in the same clip as we had before, so the lens correction clip. So this is the one we used in the last exercise. I'm going to give this a different name. I'm going to call this V002. Everything else is going to be the same. Notice in the advanced tab here, the color space is set to linear, the conversion is set to none, and the gamma is set to 1. Hit OK on that. Now in the last exercise, what we did to try and make things a little bit more visible was open up the gamma here, the gamma correction just in the preview up here. That was just to help us see some of the darker areas there. Now this adjustment here only affects our preview. It doesn't affect the way things start tracking in. So this can be really useful when we need to kind of just bring up the gamma a little bit to sort of see the edges of stuff when we're wanting to rotoscope and that sort of thing. But it doesn't really help us if we need to get some more fine contrast when we want to do the actual tracking, because the stuff up here doesn't affect our tracker. So I'm going to take a little look in the clip tab now, and I'm going to explore this clip tab a little bit further and show one of the little settings that we can do to help us out if we need to boost the brightness or the contrast for tracking. So in our general area over here, we have the list of all of the clips that we have selected. We can import more clips if we want. If we know we want to, I'm just going to bring my grid in here. If I know I want to bring in, say, something like a grid here to use as an insert, I can do that right there. And or alternatively, so if I come back into my lens correction one here, if I've taken out a clip that I want to track that's 50 frames long, and now the edit's been made different and it's now suddenly 60 frames long instead of 50, what I can do here is just come into my clip, go to relink, find the other clip, choose that there, and it will actually update the number of frames that we've got. So I don't want to do that right at this very moment, so I'm going to hit cancel. But that's the way to do it, is to just relink down here instead. The default output directory, well, this is really what we've set up in the preferences, but it's how we can change things on a project by project basis. Cool. Over on the next one here, we've got our attributes. So this is really what our all the sort of main information about our clip is. So we've got the name, which we can change if we want to. We have the clip, which is, you know, the direction to the clip. Again, that's where we relink things. And then all the important information about the clip itself. So we know it's 1920 by 1080. We've got the length in frames, 263 frames. So we've got the bit depth here, 64. So our format is RGBA, red, green, and blue, and we've got the type there. Okay, so none of this we can change or edit. This is actually how it is. This is all the stuff that's picked up from the clip itself. Then if we move over here, this is the stuff we can actually change. And some of this is things that we have seen already when we imported the clip, and some of them are different things. So we've got our mask here. Now the mask is useful if we have any sort of blanking at the sides or at the top and the bottom, so any sort of blank pixels. So these are going to really affect our track, especially if what we're tracking goes towards the edges. It's basically going to throw it off. So what we want to do is crop those out before we do the track, and we can do that by using our mask here, and this will blank up or crop out those blanking lines there. So we can either do it here by sort of typing in numbers 8, 16, 16, 8, whatever we need to do, or we can come up directly within the viewer interface and drag them in there as well. And then let's crop this quite, and this will then update when we go into the track here. or the lens, or in fact any of the other ones here, it's just going to crop that out there. Now, the frames that we're working on for this particular exercise have no blanking, so we can set that all to 0. Well, we saw this is where we can change the pixel aspect ratio, and if we have this wrong, then this is where we change things up. Now, the only time this is really going to be significant is if you have imported the clip incorrectly. So this is important if you misidentify, or Mocha Pro misidentifies the pixel aspect ratio when you import things. The other thing to be careful of, as we said in the introductory one, is the difference between PAL and CS4 PAL if we're working in standard definition. And you can see that working really, really plainly there. So we use PAL, PAL anamorphic, NTSC, and NTSC anamorphic if we're working with standard definition that's going to something like Final Cut Pro or Motion, or if we're working with the CS4 or above packages, we use the standard definition ones down here. So the CS4 PAL, CS4 PAL anamorphic, CS4 NTSC ones. Cool, okay, I'm going to stick with HD here. We can, if you really want to, type in a little custom thing here as well and take that to anything. And you'll see that updating immediately. So the film back size, this goes back and relates back to our pixel aspect ratio as well. So we can see that 16:9 is the ratio here. We don't actually have to worry too much about it. It's just another way of checking out our pixel aspect ratio. Cool. The color space, this is where it's going to be a little bit different. So at the moment we've got this set to linear, which is correct because we're working with video stuff, and video is working with linear pixel values. Yeah, now if we switch this from linear to log, which we would normally do if we were working with film scans, so DPX files, Cineon files, that sort of thing. Here we can actually have an impact on what the tracker sees, even with regular video footage. So if I set this to 10, set my white reference to 1024, and my black reference here to 0, this is pretty much what we're seeing. Oops, or would be what we were seeing with the linear color space. But we can change this up here and set my white down. This in some ways like using a levels command to just sort of set your black and white points. So if we want to crunch the contrast up a great deal, we can set these up as well and make these closer together. And then the negative gamma, this is, change the gamma up here as well, so we can open up this a little bit more. Let's change the offset a little bit up here as well. So this pushes everything up. It's like using the lift. So it offsets everything there. Now, what we've also got, I've blown out the sky on purpose, so let's come and have a look what the soft clip does here. This creates a little roll-off going on, so we can bring some of the details back. But in this case, we don't really want to or need to. What we're all about doing is just sort of opening up the footage here to make the track a bit easier. And then when we're done with the track, let's come in here and let's just track something really quickly, just to show you what's going on. Just track the road really quickly there. Turn perspective on there, and just track forward. That'll do for now. Just set my project range. There we go, and zoom into that. Cool. So once we've got our track set up, let's just change the surface just really quickly, just so you can see what it will do. Let's mark that there. Come over here, mark that there, and then push that over. Insert my grid. Cool. So once we've done all of the all of the hard work here with the color space set to log, what we can do is come back into the clip at any point, set that back to linear, come back into our track, and there it is. We've got our shot back as we need it to. So if we want to render that out at any point, we haven't rendered it out with any color changes. Of course, that's just a really useful little thing you can do, changing the color space from linear to log, just to boost the contrast up or open darker areas up as you need to. Cool. Interlaced is obviously only available if we're working with interlaced footage. And as I said in the first exercise as well, this is pretty much the only time you actually have to get something right. If you're working with interlaced footage, you have to say you're working with interlaced footage. You can't come back in here at a later stage and say that you're separating out the fields. Now, if you are working with interlaced footage and separating out the fields, you can come in and change if you're working PAL or NTSC. So if you're working actually upper field or lower field first, but you can only do that if you've turned on separate fields on the import. And the time is what's going to happen when we reach the end of the clip. So we can set that, we can move that between repeat, which the repeat the last frame, we don't repeat, loop, which loops the clip over, or ping pong, which sends us back and forth. Boom, boom, boom. Then we've got our frame offset, which is again what we set on the import, and we can change it here if we need to. If the software that we are exporting it to needs a particular frame offset, we can do that there. And again, check it out in frames or timecode. That's pretty much it for the clip tab there. So I'm going to leave it now. But in future exercises, we will come back and use some of the little tricks here that we've already seen before. Now, in the next couple of exercises, we're going to take a greater look at the Stabilize tab over here. So I will see you over in the Stabilize tab.